Have you ever told yourself, I just don't know why I feel so unmotivated? Or maybe, I can't focus like I used to. Perhaps you felt like everything is harder and nothing feels exciting anymore. If any of this sounds familiar, I need you to hear this. Your brain is not broken. What's likely happening is that your dopamine system is overstimulated. And one of the fastest ways to overload it is with screen-based pleasure, especially adult content. But here's the really dangerous part. It doesn't destroy your life with a dramatic explosion of pleasure. It destroys it quietly with a slow, creeping numbness. Today, I'm going to walk you through the exact neuroscience of what I call the adult content loop. This is the cycle of searching, peaking, crashing, and building tolerance. We'll explore how it silently rewires your motivation, your discipline, your entire reward system, and even how you connect with real people. Once you understand this loop, I promise, everything about your mind will finally start to make sense. So let's begin. Every loop starts not with pleasure, but with the search. It's the seeking that triggers the first dopamine spike. Dopamine surges the moment you start looking for stimulation, not when you actually find it. This process trains your brain to crave anticipation, novelty, unpredictability, and that feeling of just one more click. You're essentially in hunting mode. It's the very same neurological mechanism that casinos use to keep you hooked. The adult content industry didn't invent this loop, they just perfected it. And why is it so effective? Because the human brain is hardwired to chase novelty, variety, unpredictability, and escalation. High-stimulation sexual content delivers all of that, instantly, in just a few seconds. This constant searching and anticipation rewires your brain to value the hunt over the reward, keeping you trapped in a cycle of endless seeking. Next comes the peak, the overload phase. When you finally reach that moment of intense stimulation, your dopamine levels spike higher than almost any natural reward you can experience. It's a bigger rush than delicious food, more intense than socializing with friends, and even more powerful than the feeling of a great achievement. Your brain interprets this massive spike as a survival-level signal, basically screaming, "This is critically important. We must repeat this at all costs." But here's the catch. The brain can't maintain that extreme peak. It's just not sustainable. So to protect itself from burning out, it does something drastic. It lowers your dopamine baseline. This baseline is your default level of dopamine. And it determines how motivated you feel, how energized you are, and how rewarding normal, everyday life feels. When that baseline drops, everything that used to be enjoyable, a good conversation, a walk in the park, completing a task at work suddenly feels boring and dull, and that's where the next phase begins. The crash. After that intense peak, your dopamine levels don't just return to normal. They plummet far below your new lowered baseline. This is the crash, and it's what creates that mental fog. The feeling of apathy, the irritability, and the profound lack of motivation. You might experience emotional flatness or a sudden desire to withdraw from social situations. And it's crucial to understand this isn't happening because you're weak or lazy. It's a direct neurochemical consequence. The cost of that manufactured peak is incredibly high, and your brain is paying the price. It desperately needs time to recover, to rebalance its chemistry. But instead of resting, what do most people do? They feel that low, that emptiness, and their first instinct is to repeat the loop to get another hit. It's this repetition that drives you straight into the next, and most insidious stage of the cycle. This next stage is tolerance, the phase of escalation. Once your dopamine baseline has dropped, the same content that used to give you that massive rush no longer produces the same effect. The reward just isn't there anymore. So, what does your brain demand? More. It demands more novelty, something different and more extreme. It demands more intensity. It demands more time spent searching and watching. It demands more overall stimulation just to feel a fraction of the original reward. This is tolerance. And it's not a metaphor for addiction. It is neurochemically the exact same process that happens in drug addiction. Your brain's reward system literally stops responding to the gentle rewards of normal life. You don't lose motivation because you've become a lazy person. You lose it because your dopamine threshold is now set so high that everyday reality can't even come close to reaching it. This is the point where people start to feel a deep disconnection from their real relationships. They feel a lack of excitement in everyday life, boredom with normal intimacy, and a crippling difficulty in focusing or even starting simple tasks. The loop has hijacked your brain's reward system and has become its main, and sometimes only, source of perceived reward. Before we dive deeper into exactly how this loop rewires your brain structure and function long-term, I want to share a powerful message we received from a subscriber who successfully broke out of it. Her story perfectly illustrates what this loop does to a person, and more importantly, how different life feels when you finally escape. Her name is Amanda. She's 33 and lives in Portland, Oregon. She wrote, "I didn't think any of this applied to me. I wasn't watching anything extreme, just occasionally at night to relax. But over time, I noticed something strange. I didn't feel excitement anymore. I couldn't focus at work. I just felt numb, both emotionally and mentally. After watching one of your videos, I decided to stop for 7 days. Honestly, the first 5 days were awful. My brain felt irritated, restless, and just plain uncomfortable. But on day 6, something shifted. Everything changed. My mind felt clearer. My motivation started coming back. I found myself laughing more. I actually felt present again in my own life. I didn't realize how much this loop was draining me until I stepped out of it. I finally feel like myself again." That was Amanda's story. I'm sure many of you might recognize parts of your own experience in what she described. That feeling of being drained, of being numb, without even realizing the cause. Her journey shows that change is possible, and the clarity that comes from breaking the cycle is real. Now, let's finish this, because the last part is the most important. Understanding the way out. The loop we've discussed: search, peak, crash tolerance, just a bad habit. It physically alters your brain, making it harder and harder to find joy in real life. But just as the brain can be rewired in a negative direction, it can also be rewired in a positive one. The key is to consciously break the cycle and allow your dopamine receptors time to heal and reset. This process is often called a dopamine detox. It involves intentionally abstaining from high-stimulation activities, especially the one that's causing the problem. Like Amanda experienced, the first few days can be tough. Your brain, accustomed to easy, high-level stimulation, will protest. You'll feel bored, anxious, and irritable. This is the withdrawal period. Your brain is recalibrating. But if you push through, something amazing happens. Your dopamine baseline begins to rise back to its natural level. The world starts to regain its color. Simple things like a conversation with a friend, the taste of good food, or the satisfaction of finishing a project start to feel rewarding again. Your ability to focus returns. Your motivation comes back, not from a place of desperation, but from genuine interest. This isn't just about quitting something. It's about reclaiming your brain and your ability to experience authentic joy and connection. If you're struggling with this, please know you are not alone, and it's not a moral failing. It's a neurochemical trap. The first step is awareness, which you now have. The next step is action. Try taking a break, even just for a few days, and observe the changes in your own mind. You have the power to break the loop and rediscover a life full of genuine engagement and excitement. Ever feel like your brain is stuck in a loop? You know you should be doing something productive, but you find yourself scrolling, searching for that next hit of stimulation. It turns out, there's a neurological reason for this, especially when it comes to high-stimulation content. Let's break down how this loop actually rewires your brain, and more importantly, how you can escape it. First, let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. Think of this as your brain's CEO. It's in charge of self-control, discipline, and long-term planning. When you repeatedly expose it to short, intense reward cycles, like the ones from highly stimulating online content, you're essentially weakening its authority. It's like training a muscle to only do quick, easy lifts, so when it comes time for a heavy, sustained effort, it just can't handle it. Your ability to resist impulses and stay focused on meaningful goals takes a serious hit. Next up is your reward circuit. This is the part of your brain that makes you feel good when you achieve something. It's supposed to respond to things like finishing a project, having a great conversation, or enjoying a beautiful sunset. But when it gets used to the fire hose of stimulation from artificial sources, those slow, meaningful rewards start to feel, well, boring. Your brain starts to ignore the subtle joys of everyday life because they can't compete with the intense, instant gratification it's been conditioned to expect. This leads us to the dopamine baseline. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but it's more accurately the motivation chemical. When your brain is constantly flooded with dopamine from high stimulation sources, it tries to protect itself by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. This is called downregulation. The result? Your baseline level of dopamine drops. Life starts to feel flat, gray, and uninteresting. Activities that used to bring you joy no longer do, and you feel a general sense of blah. With a lower dopamine baseline, your motivation circuit also gets thrown out of whack. It now requires a much bigger jolt of stimulation just to get you to take action. Think about it. If a normal, healthy activity gives you a small, gentle push of dopamine, but your brain is used to a massive surge, that small push won't be enough to get you off the couch. It creates a cycle where you need more and more intense stimuli just to feel motivated to do anything at all. Finally, all of this affects your connectivity system, your ability to form real, meaningful relationships. Your brain adapts to whatever you feed it. If you're constantly feeding it fast, artificial, on-demand intimacy, it starts to get wired for that. Real relationships, which are slower, more complex, and require genuine effort and vulnerability, start to feel incredibly difficult and unrewarding by comparison. The brain has adapted to a digital fantasy, making real-world connection feel like a chore. So are you stuck in this loop forever? Absolutely not. The most incredible thing about your brain is its plasticity. It can change, adapt, and reverse all of this damage. You can break the loop. How? By systematically resetting it. This means reducing the frequency of exposure to high-stimulation content. It means eliminating novelty, the constant search for something new and different. It means lowering the overall intensity of the stimuli you consume. You then replace those fast, cheap rewards with deep, meaningful ones. Reconnect with hobbies, spend quality time with people you care about, get out in nature. As you do this, you begin to rebuild your dopamine baseline. You're teaching your brain that it doesn't need a tidal wave of stimulation to feel good. And as you practice delaying gratification, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex, rebuilding your self-control and discipline from the ground up. Now, I'm not going to lie, the first 5 days of this process are usually the hardest. Your brain will scream for its usual fix. But if you can push through, something amazing happens. After about day 7, you'll start to notice a return of mental clarity. The fog begins to lift. After day 14, your motivation starts to creep back in. You'll find yourself wanting to do things again. By day 21, your dopamine baseline has had a chance to really start rebuilding. This isn't about morality or judging anyone's choices. This is pure neurochemistry. Your brain will adapt to anything you repeat. You have the power to choose the direction of that adaptation. Our dopamine systems were simply not designed to handle the relentless stimulation of the modern digital world. But once you understand the loop, you gain the power to break it. And once you break it, you'll be amazed at how colorful and rewarding real life starts to feel again. If you found this helpful and want to take the next step, I'm putting together a science-based practical guide. If you want part 2 called How to Reset Your Dopamine in 14 Days, just let me know in the comments. Do the reset video, and I'll get to work on it. Thanks for watching.